Saurians are an ancient coalition of humanoid reptiles led by giant frog mages. They fight alongside a variety of powerful dinosaur-like creatures from the jungles of their native plane. The Saurians put their faith in the great prophecies of the frog mages, who believed that they would confront havoc in order to save their world. With the opening of the Great Rift, however, it appears that they have returned too late. Now they must confront the apparent failure of the ruling frog mages and their prophecy.
Hey everybody, this is Warboss Fitz, and we're back again today. This week we are going to talk about the Saurians, the dinosaurs of Age of Fantasy. So before we get into the units, we're going to go through the special rule overview for them. We're going to start at the top with Ancient Wrath. This model and his unit gets Furious. If they already had Furious, you get extra hits on unmodified rolls of 5 to 6 instead. Now looking through the list, I haven't found anything that just has Furious on it. We're going to go through, so we'll see if it does pop up. Bait. Before the game starts, pick one enemy unit. All models with this special rule get +2 to hit in melee when fighting it. This means if the enemy has a big bad thing, go ahead and choose that enemy unit. You're going to be easier to hit it. Bounding. When this model is activated, you may place it anywhere within D3+1. That's going to be the same as our bounce, darting, other things that we've seen in this series. Destined Leader. This model and its unit move +2 on advance and +4 on rush and charge, making your standard move units into a fast move units or your fast move units into very fast units. Devour. Whenever this model attacks in melee, roll 1 die. On a 6+, the target takes 1 wound. A little extra attack that has the ability to go right through everybody's armor. Drop Rock. Once per game. When this model moves over enemy units, pick one of them and roll 1 die. On a 2+, it takes 3 hits with AP 1. This is going to be on some of the pterodactyl units. Ferocious. This model and its unit get +1 to hit in melee. Good Shot. This model shoots at quality 4. Healing Bond. Once per activation. If within 2 inches of a model with tough, roll 1 die. On a 2+, you may remove D3 wounds from this model. I'm not sure where this is as far as unit rules. Again, we're going to go through and we're going to find out. Hit and Run. This model and its unit may move up to 3 inches after shooting, which is always good when you have little squishy javelin throwers. Predator. This is going to be on most of, if not all, your units. Everybody's going to have the option to get this somehow. For each unmodified roll of 6 to hit when attacking, this model may roll 1 extra attack with that weapon. This rule doesn't apply to newly generated attacks. So it's not like Furious where you automatically hit. If you roll a 6, you get an additional attack that you have to hit with. Primal Roar. Once per activation, pick 2 friendly units within 6 with Predator, which may roll extra attacks on unmodified rolls of 5 to 6 next time they attack. Release Snakes. Once per game, when this model is activated, you may place a new unit of 3 snake swarms, fully within 6 inches of it. Scarred Veteran. Attacks targeting this unit where all models have this rule count as having AP -1 to a minimum of 0. Unique. This unit may only be taken once per army. And everything that we've gone through, all the armies we've gone through so far, I think this is the first time we've actually seen Unique. So moving on to the spells. Scrutiny for 1. Target enemy unit with an 18 gets -1 to hit rolls next time it fights in melee. Serpent Egg 1. Target enemy unit within 12 takes 3 hits. Energy Reservoir 2. Target 2 friendly units within 12. They get +2 next time they advance or +4 next time they rush or charge. Again, having the option to have your regular units turn into fast units. Jaguar Pounce 2. Target enemy model within 12 takes 2 hits with AP 4. Piranha Swarm. Target 2 enemy units within 9. They take 6 hits each. And Transcend 3. Target 2 friendly units within 18. They get regeneration next time they take wounds. It's a standard spell loadout that we've seen for everybody else. We got some debuffing, we got some buffing, we got some targeted spells. Jaguar Pounce. Target enemy model within 12. That means that you can focus a particular model with that spell. But where it's only 2 hits with AP4, if you're targeting a character, it's going to have 3 wounds to start with, so it's going to be hard to snipe anything with that. So let's go ahead and move right into the units, and we're going to start with Geckos, 5 of them for 50 points, quality 5, defensive 5. They all come with 1 hand weapon attack that is poison. They have Fearless and Strider. You can upgrade all the models to have Javelins, which is a 12-inch, 1 attack AP1 poison shot. or blowpipe, which is one shot at 18 inches with poison. And you can give them the Sergeant, Musician, and the Banner upgrade, since this is the first time we're seeing it in the army. Sergeant means one of the models gets +1 to hit in melee. Musician means the unit gets +1 inch of movement. And Banner means the unit gets +1 on their morale tests. In this army, these guys are going to be a support type infantry. These are not going to be your frontline fighters. So for them, the javelins or the blowpipe would be the way to go, just to be able to move up and lob shots downrange without much reciprocation from the enemy. For frontline troops, we're going to have to go to our next selection, and that would be the Saurian warriors. 10 of them for 125 points, quality 4, defensive 4, 1 attack apiece with fearless and predator. Now these guys, you get +1 quality and +1 defense over top of the geckos. Plus they're more of a substantial looking thing that I'd want to put on the front lines. You can replace all their hand weapons with halberds to give them rending, or spear to give them counter, and you can also give them the Sergeant, Musician, or the Banner upgrade. And when we get to the characters, there's some fun stuff you can do with the Saurian veterans to put on this unit to make them a lot better than they are on paper. The next unit we're going to go to is the Saurian Guardians, who are another step up from the Saurian Warriors. 100 points for 5 of them, quality 3, defensive 3. They come with heavy halberds for 1 attack apiece at AP1 and rending with fearless and predator. You can upgrade all the heavy halberds to heavy great weapons for 1 attack at AP3, and you can give them the Sergeant, Musician, and Banner upgrade. These guys, I think, just look cool with their skulls on top of their heads. And if you have a character that you really want to protect, put them inside this squad, because the extra defense 3 on something that would be called a basic troop in Age of Fantasy is really good. Our next unit is going to be Chameleons. 95 points for 5, quality 5, defensive 5, 1 poison shot at 18 inches with their blowpipe, and 1 attack with a hand weapon. They are fearless, good shot, which means they're going to hit on a 4, even though their quality is a 5, scout, stealth, and strider. Scout means they get to move 12 inches before the game even starts. Stealth means if the enemy is outside of 9 inches shooting at them, they are -1 to hit. And Strider means that they ignore all difficult terrain. They have goofy little faces, because chameleons just are goofy looking. But this is going to be your sneak around and take pot shots at the enemy. The unit has no upgrades. Next up is the Deinonychus Riders. 5 of them for 85 points, quality 5, defensive 5. They come equipped with a lance for 1 attack, which is poisoned. Bounding, fearless, impact 1, and strider. You can upgrade the lances to be hand weapons and javelins, and you can get the Sergeant, Musician, and the Banner upgrade on these. These guys have the ability to become your ranged cavalry, and with bounding and strider, they're going to be able to zip around the board and have a hard time being caught by the enemy. Speaking of zipping around the board, we go to the Dactyl Riders. 3 of them for 145 points, quality 5, defensive 5, 1 attack apiece with their claws, 1 attack with a hand weapon which is poisoned, fast, fearless, flying, impact 2, and toughness 3. Now you can upgrade them with the Sergeant, Musician, and Banner. I don't know why they got put at the top, but it is. You can give them all javelins for 2 shots at 12 inches at AP1 with poison, or fire bolas for a 12-inch 4 shots if you just want to drown the enemy in shots. And you can upgrade them to either be the Rip Jaws, which gives them that bait rule, where they pick 1 enemy unit on the board and they get +2 to hit, or the Taro breed, where they're going to fly around and drop rocks on people. This is just a cool looking unit. If I was playing larger games for these intros, there would definitely be some version of Dactyl Riders in the list. But what I would want to do is take 6 of them in a combined squad, make them pterodons so they can drop rocks on people with fire bolas. That way, they're going to be plinking whole bunches of shots down the board, and then if anybody gets close enough, fly over top of them, drop a whole bunch of rocks on them. Just being a general nuisance unit. Now we go to Raptor Riders. 5 of them for 115 points, quality 4, defensive 4, 1 attack apiece with hand weapons, Devour, fast, fearless, impact 1, and predator. Devour is that one where you get the extra roll when they're in close combat to see if you just put a wound through on them. You can replace the hand weapons with a lance that gives them 1 attack with lances. And lance means if you charge, they get AP2 on the charge. Coupled with their impact, these are going to be your shock cavalry of the Saurian army. And you could also give them the Sergeant, Musician, Banner. I really like this unit, but I'm a little gun shy because if you saw the Saurian Star Host video, the Raptor Riders just got obliterated off the board nearly immediately, and I didn't want to do that again. The only downside to this unit is if they had Strider, they would be the perfect shock cavalry. But without that, they're going to, have to maneuver their way around terrain. Gators. 3 of them for 195 points, quality 4, defensive 3. They each get 3 attacks at AP 3 with their heavy great weapons, fearless, predator, and toughness 3. The unit doesn't have any upgrades because they don't need any upgrades. They are a wrecking ball of a unit, just going to clamp on whatever they attack and do some death rolls. From the beefiest unit to the smallest unit, Snake Swarms. 3 of them for 70 points, quality 6, defensive 6. 3 attacks apiece with poison. Ambush, Fearless, Strider, and Toughness 3. No upgrades on the unit. And again, with Swarms, I've come to the realization that Swarms are going to be used mostly for blocking. Don't expect them to hold anything or do really any damage on their attack. With 3.2, the poison does remove the enemy's regeneration. So if you're fighting something with a low armor value that kind of relies on regeneration, these guys would be okay to throw at them. But in any other situation, I wouldn't count on these guys lasting very long on the field at all. Into the larger dinosaurs. Dragon Lizard, 1 of them for 130 points, quality 4, defensive 4. 3 attacks at AP 1 with its heavy claws, and then it can spit fire 2 shots at 12 inches with blast 3 and reliable. Fearless, Furious, Strider, and toughness 6. And you can upgrade it with the Lizard Handler so you can put Predator on it. But this thing, it's not really going to want to be in close combat. It's going to want to sit back and be a organic flamethrower, just torching anything. Now we have a Spike the Lizard for 130 points. Quality 4, defensive 3. 3 attacks at AP 1 with its heavy claws. It has 2 shots at 18 inches with blast 3 with its spike shooting ability. Fearless, Strider, and toughness 6. And you can upgrade it with a Lizard Handler to give it the Predator rule. These guys have a little bit more range than the Dragon Lizards, but the weapon lacks reliable. But with a quality of 4, you might get almost the same results, but a Dragon Lizard would probably be a better investment for you. Triceratops for 290 points, quality 4, and defensive 3. Its Javelin crew gives it 6 attacks at 12 inches with AP 1 and poison. Then it has a Horn for 6 attacks with rending. And it stomps for 4 attacks at AP 1. So this thing's putting out a whole lot of attacks and a whole lot of damage. Fear 2, which means that it always counts as scoring 2 more wounds than it actually did when it comes to test for morale. Fearless and toughness 12. You can upgrade it with Trample for impact 3, and you can change out the Javelin crew to be a Godly Altar, which gives it the Caster 2 ability. Giant Blowpipe for 6 shots at 18 inches with poison. Or a Bolt Thrower, 24 inches, 2 shots at AP 2 with Deadly 3. Now this is the first time as we've gone through the list we've actually come across a weapon with Deadly. And really, if I was going to be running a trike in Age of Fantasy, this is what I would do. I would give it the Bolt Thrower because it's a walking siege engine at that point. It's shooting its gun, it's shooting its Bolt Thrower at the larger targets, and anything that charges into it is going to be getting 10 attacks into them between the Horn and the Stomp. Next, we go to the Spinosaurus, 280 points, quality 4, defensive 3. It spits Venom, 2 attacks at 18 inches with blast 3 and poison, 4 attacks with its Stomp at AP 1, and 6 attacks with poison from its Toxic Bite. Fear 2, Fearless, Predator, and toughness 12. You can upgrade it with a Primal Roar, which means it gives out you get extra attacks on a 5 or a 6 to 2 units within 6 inches. You can also upgrade it with a Priest Rider, which gives it Caster 2. Now, I got one of these on the list because I didn't have a Spinosaurus, and I thought it looked cool, so I threw one on the list. We're going to see what it can do today against some trees. Then we come to the Ankylosaurus, 330 points. This thing is a brick. Quality 4, defensive 2. 6 attacks with its Javelin crew at 12 inches with AP 1 and poison. 4 attacks with its Stomp at AP 1. And its Mace Tail gets 4 attacks at AP 2. Fear 2, Fearless, and Toughness 12. You can replace the Javelin crew with a Solar Beam for 2 shots at 24 inches with Blast 3 and AP 2. Or you can give it a Serpent Arc where it gets to drop off a unit of snake swarms right next to it. And you can also replace the mace tail with a tail strike, 1 attack at AP2 with deadly 6. I am taking an Ankylosaurus today because the model's cool. I keep, whenever I take something, it's because I like the model. I'll just put that out there. So I gave it the tail strike. Which means it's going to be going after the largest thing in the enemy unit with its deadly 6 attack. And that's all I did to it. Everything else I thought was fine. 6 shots at 12 inches with its javelin crew. We're going to see how that works out. Last unit in the non-character category is the Dread Titan. 670 points, quality 2, defensive 2. 6 attacks with AP2 from its stomp. 4 attacks at AP4, deadly 3 from its vicious jaws. Fear 3 and toughness 18, and that's just what it has base. All its upgrades are different versions of the Dread Titan. You could take a Gator version of the Titan, which would be like your T-Rex style. Gives it Strider, Predator, and Primal Roar. Pterodactyl gives it Flying and Caster 2. Behemoth gives it 6 extra toughness, a tail strike for 2 attacks at Blast 3 and AP1. Or you can give it a Platform Behemoth, 6 extra toughness. Then it can carry 21 models with a tail strike at 2 attacks, Blast 3, AP1. Now, we don't have one in the list today because it is a big chunk of points, but in a game that we have coming up, it's going to be there. So we'll see how it does on the board when that happens. Now we're going to move into our characters. The first character on the list is the Frog Mage, 170 points, quality 2, defensive 2. Magic Blast gives it a 12-inch, 3-shot rending attack, and a Magic Pulse for just 3 regular attacks in close combat. Hero, Strider, Toughness 3, and Caster 3 to start out with. Now, as far as characters go, this guy is very tanky to start off with its defensive 2 and its quality 2. It's going to be able to do what it wants to do. Now, the upgrades, we can tweak its magical shooting attack. You can give it a Magic Beam, 1 attack at AP2, deadly 3 for 12 inches, or Magic Shock, which is 3 shots at 18. You could upgrade it with an Ancient Palanquin, which gives it Magic Pulse 3 attacks, which gives it, 3 more attacks. Fear 1, and that puts it up to Toughness 6. Or a Quetzalcoatl, so it could be a Flying Frog Mage, gives it Toughness plus 18, which will put it at Toughness 21. Fear 3, Stomp for 6 attacks at AP2, Flying, and Mystic Strike, which is 12 attacks in close combat at AP1, but that's 770 points. At that point, we're talking massive game. And you can upgrade it for an additional point of caster if you give it Supreme Mage. Now yeah, Fat Frog on a hover round. I got one on the list. We're going to see how it does today. Saurian Veteran, 65 points, quality 3, defensive 3, 3 attacks with its heavy hand weapon at AP1, Fearless Hero, Predator, and Toughness 3. You can upgrade it with Ancient Wrath, Ferocious, or Fear 3. Fear 3 is pretty good if you stick this guy with a unit of Saurian warriors, so you automatically cause 3 extra wounds when it comes to morale check time. Ferocious, always good. At that point, it puts your other Saurian warriors at a 3 to hit. And Ancient Wrath is good because that's the one that you get extra attacks on a 5 or a 6. Just generally good to do that because it only costs 10 points. If you're already paying for a Saurian Veteran, find 10 points somewhere. You can replace his heavy hand weapon. Again, with characters, I like to match up its weapon to whatever unit it's fighting in. Heavy lances, heavy halberds, dual heavy hand weapons, heavy great weapon, or heavy spear. And you can upgrade it with a raptor. Gives it fast impact 1 and devour, or a tyrannosaur for fear 2, toughness 12, 6 attacks at AP2 with a crushing jaw, 4 attacks at AP1 with a stomp, and primal roar. Tyrannosaur would turn this guy into a pretty decent beat stick on his own to run forward and cause as much havoc as he wants. Next to the Gecko Champion, 35 points. This guy's really cheap to start off with. Quality 5, defensive 5, 3 attacks with poison, fearless hero, toughness 3, and strider. Now you can upgrade him to be a chief, which gives him destined leader, which means that he gives his squad the extra +2/+4 for its movement. And you don't have to put him with a Gecko squad. He can go with any squad just to make them faster. Skirmisher gives him hit and run, to where whenever his squad fires, they get to move 3 inches. Or Priest to make him a mini caster compared to our Frog on the hover round. He can be throwing out some spells on his own. Now you can replace his hand weapon with dual hand weapons to give him extra attack, or a lance if you want to put him with a cavalry unit. Now this guy's got a lot of options because he can go a lot of places. You can give him a blowpipe, a fire bola, or a javelin. You could upgrade him to a chameleon, which gives him good shot, scout, and stealth. And then you could put him on a Deinonychus, a palanquin, in case you want to have him rocking around looking like a fat frog on a hover-round. You can put him on a ripjaw dactyl or a pterodactyl. So this is going to be kind of your jack-of-all-trades character. He's not that many points, so if you got squads that are just sitting out there with no hero inside of them, throw some points at this guy just to make that squad a little bit better. Last character of the list is the Gator Veteran. 130 points, quality 4, defensive 3, 4 attacks at AP 4 with a heavy great weapon, fear 1, fearless, hero, predator, and toughness 6. This is one beefy boy. You can upgrade him to be a primordial warden, which gives him the primal roar, which means if he's on the front line, when he activates, he can give the roll extra attacks on a 5 and 6 to 2 other units standing next to him. You can give him Ancient Wrath, which means him and his squad get furious. So you could go the Gator squad and give them all exploding 6s to hit on top of Predator, which means that if you roll a 6, that would turn into 2 hits, plus you get to roll an additional attack. Or you can give him Ferocious, where he can give him and his unit +1 to hit. So that is all the units that the Saurians can bring to the field. Everybody loves dinosaurs. These guys are geared mostly for close combat with the geckos running around in all their different variations to be your kind of supporting dinosaurs. This one seems to be a crowd favorite, so I was happy it got voted for and I could make this video. So now, let's go watch some dinosaurs try to chop down some trees. Welcome out to the garage, everybody. These are going to be the dinosaurs that we are going to use today. First unit up is the Saurian warriors, led by a Saurian veteran, and he is going to have the upgrade to give everybody +1 to hit. Second unit is 10 geckos and a gecko champion. They're all armed with javelins, and the gecko champion has the hit and run ability. Our next unit is 5 Guardians, and they are being led by a big fat frog on his hover-round. Next we have a fearsome Spinosaurus being ridden into battle by a Gecko Priest, giving this unit Caster 2. That last unit in the army is an Ankylosaur. The only upgrades given to it is its tail. It has been upgraded to the 1 attack deadly 6, hoping to smash some trees apart. And their opponents for today are the victorious Tree Lords from last week's video. We're going to see who's going to win the battle of the big guys, the trees or the dinosaurs. Here's our board for today, and once again, we are fighting in a deep jungle. We have 5 objectives on the board, and we are going to be using the mission cards again. This all seems to work out so well last time. And after doing some more reading, I found out I was playing the cards wrong. You're supposed to look at your cards at the end of the turn, find out which card scored the highest, and each army is only able to score 1 card per turn. So we're going to do that. Maybe it'll keep the score a little bit tighter than 11-2. So both armies set up not knowing what their objectives are going to be. Both armies only have 5 units in them, so it was a pretty fast setup. But we're going for the big expensive stuff in this fight. I've been thinking about bumping the points for these games up to 2,000 at least instead of the 1,500 that we're doing now. It'll require a little bit more painting on my part, but vote down in the comments. Tell me if you guys want to push this to 2,000 or if you're fine with the 1,500 point battle reports. Also, in other news, I took all the cards and I made a deck. So what we're going to do is it is going to be using the same deck, 5 cards per army, and they're going to score the highest card per turn at the end of the turn. Now, I didn't put a 6th objective on the board because, at this point value, it seemed kind of crowded. So let's see what happens. Wait, I'm pulling the wrong side. So we're going to do Saurians, Tree Men. So, Tree Men first. sees 2. Big game hunter for the Saurians. Area dominance for the trees. Hold 2 for the Saurians. Hold 4 for the trees. Sees 1 for the Saurians. Executioner. Hold 1. Sees 4. And sees 1. So those are going to be our cards going into... Oh, get the glare off of them. Those are going to be our cards going into turn number 1. Now let's see who goes first. Trees, get a 1. Saurians, get 2. Looks like the lizards are going first. 3 out of their 5 objectives having to deal with objective number 1, which is all the way over there. The Saurian warriors are just going to move forward, and in doing so, they're standing on objective number 2. The unit of hunters on the left flank of the tree men move forward to take control of objective number 1. They level their bows at the Saurian warriors and fire, and their large arrows were able to take out 4 of the Saurian warriors. The Guardian Priest squad chooses to activate next, and the Frog Priest casts Energy Reservoir on both the Ankylosaurus and Spinosaurus. It goes off, giving them both +2/+4 movement. The squad then moves behind the first Saurian warrior unit, standing on objective 2. The tree giant chooses to cast Regeneration on himself and the squad of brutes next to him. The spell goes off. Now the tree giant and the brutes both have regeneration. The tree giant then moves forward fast enough to grab objective number 3, but make sure he stays out of charge range of the Ankylosaurus. The gecko unit then jumps over the hedgerow, and only a few of them are able to draw a line of sight to the tree giant. 3 of them hurl their javelins towards the tree giant. One of them actually hitting, and the tree giant proceeds to roll the 1 on his armor save. So, he's down to 11 wounds. The geckos then proceed to hit and run right behind cover and picking up objective number 5. The second unit of hunters move forward into the cover, and they're able to clearly see the Ankylosaurus pretty much standing in the open. Fire off their heavy bows. The Ankylosaurus's armor stops every single arrow, and the crew isn't even sure he knows he got shot at. The Spinosaurus with the Gecko Priests moves up onto the hill, choosing not to cast any spells to hold on to its caster points this turn. It then sees the grouping of hunters huddled around objective number 1 and chooses to spit the Spinosaurus's poison spit. 1 hunter goes down and 1 is reduced to 1 wound. They pass their morale test, so they're going to keep on holding on to objective number 1. The brutes, with no one in range to charge, move forward using their Strider rule right through the pond, ignoring the difficult terrain. As the activation for the turn, the Ankylosaurus moves forward and has its crew throw their javelins at the tree giant. The tree giant's armor is able to stop every little javelin that hits. So at the end of turn 1, the trees do have control of objective 1, 3, and 4, so they're going to get area dominance for 2 victory points. And their next card will be Outflank. No enemy units within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. We'll see how that works out. Now, are they going to discard anything? And the trees are going to discard seize objective number 2. They're going to do just fine without it. And their new card is a Volley Fire. Destroy an enemy unit with a ranged attack. We'll see how this works out. And for our Saurians, we got the Saurian dead pile staring over the cards. They were not able to achieve any of their objectives this turn. What they're going to do is they're going to discard hold 1, because if they get it, they're probably not going to be able to hold it for a whole turn. And their new card is Shifting Strategy. Objective 1. Well, this one here looks like it is going to be possible, because that one is currently controlled by the Tree Lords. We'll see what happens. Starting off turn 2, the brutes have decided that they're going to do brute things, and they charge headlong into the unit of Saurian warriors. The caster buried inside the unit decides to cast Tree Vines on the unit of Saurian warriors, and it goes off. The Saurian warriors are now -1 to hit in combat. Brutes attack into the Saurian warriors. They're able to cut down all of the warriors and put one wound onto the veteran. The veteran decides he's going to go down swinging. Connects with all of his attacks, even with the -1 to hit, and kills one of the brutes, then passes his morale test. He's not going anywhere. The Ankylosaurus sees his opportunity and charges headfirst into the tree giant, attacking with its stumps, and the important tail swipe connects. The tree giant takes 8 wounds, but with the regeneration he gave himself last turn, he's able to knock that down to only 5 wounds taken. The tree giant then squares up against the Ankylosaurus. The tree giant flails its strong branches into the Ankylosaurus, but the Ankylosaurus' armor holds, only taking 3 wounds. Tree giant loses combat and has to roll a morale test, and the unthinkable happens. This avatar of the tree spirits decides, now that he's down to half wounds, to pack up and run. The unit of brutes that ambushed onto the board earlier charge into the back of the Guardian squad. With their massive number of attacks, even the Guardian's high armor save is not able to save them, as they cut down all 5 Guardians. Frog Mage attacks back, only able to put 1 wound onto the brutes, but he passes his morale test. Seeing the Frog Mage in trouble, the Spinosaurus barrels down the hill into that squad of brutes. With its poison jaws and stomp attacks, it's able to straight up remove 2 of the brutes from the board. The brutes then attack the Spinosaurus, and because they are fatigued, they're unable to do any wounds to the dinosaur. They fail their morale test and become pinned for their trouble. Squad of hunters on the right flank move back a bit to make sure that they are outside of charge range of the Ankylosaurus, and they fire their heavy bows into it. 2 of the arrows are able to pierce the heavy hide of the Ankylosaur. The unit of geckos move towards the middle of the board because there's no card for Objective 5 at the moment. So they conga line out to throw javelins at the squad who's still in combat with the Saurian veteran. Their javelins are able to pincushion 1 of the brutes. The reduced hunter squad on Objective number 1 fire their heavy bows into the Ankylosaur, but the Ankylosaur's armor blocks all the hits. The Frog Mage, standing on Objective number 2, looks to his left and his right, and he casts Piranha Swarm at both of the units of brutes. The unit fighting the veteran takes 2 wounds, killing 1 of the brutes and moving the wound to another. The unit that's fighting with the Spinosaurus takes 6 wounds, removing 2 of the brutes. Last activation for the turn, the Saurian veteran fights into the squad of brutes that he is locked in combat with. He does 1 wound, but on the attack back, the many attacks of the brutes are able to rip through and take his final 2 wounds off. So our dead piles are growing on both sides, but at the end of turn 2, the Tree Lords were able to score Objective 34 to hold Objective 4 for 2 victory points. Their new card is Seize Objective 4. On turn 2, the Saurians were able to score Big Game Hunter for 2 victory points because the Tree Man had 12 wounds, and their new objective is going to be Take No Prisoners. First activation of turn 3, the squad of brutes that has the caster in it charges into the Ankylosaur in the middle of the board. The caster casts Tree Stomp onto the Ankylosaur successfully. The Ankylosaurus fails its armor save and loses 3 wounds. Then the brutes attack in combat, able to take off 3 more wounds, leaving the Ankylosaur with 1 wound remaining. The Ankylosaur attacks back. Its stomps are able to do 2 wounds to the brutes, and then its mighty tail smash swings and obliterates the tree brute that is already wounded. Even though he's down to 1 wound, the Ankylosaur, with his fear ability, actually wins combat, and the tree brutes pass their morale test. The Spinosaurus attacks the unit of brutes that are still pinned right in front of it. With its attacks, it's able to take out the wounded brute. The brutes attack back, unable to cause any damage because while they're pinned, they're also only hitting on a 6. Spinosaurus wins combat, and because the unit of brutes is already pinned, they automatically fail their morale test and decide to be anywhere else but here. The hunters on objective number 1 look down their bows and see that the frog mage makes a tempting target all on his own. They fire their bows. Even with the frog mage's impressive armor, he still takes 2 wounds, but passes his morale test. Frog mage moves forward to within 9 inches of the brutes attacking the ankylosaur and attempts to cast Piranha Swarm again. But this time his magic fails him as he rolls a 1.
I lost the audio on this part, but the hunters fire at the ankylosaur, take off its last wound, and it just explodes in front of the squad of brutes.
The gecko unit swarms into the middle of the board, throwing all their javelins at the brute squad that they think just killed the ankylosaur. The javelins do 4 wounds, leaving just the leader of the brute squad, who then fails their morale test and is pinned. With our ever-growing pile of dead over here, the tree men scored 3 different objectives this turn, but I can only actually score 1. So we're just going to use one of the C's objective 4s for 1 point. And their new objective, C's objective 3. The Saurians aren't in much of a better boat over here. We've got 3 cards for objective number 1, which is probably not in the cards for turn 4. So they did hold objective number 2 last turn and this turn. So that means they're going to get 2 points there. Their new objective is cut them down. They're also going to discard one of these C's objective 1s because it's, again, probably not in the cards. And their new objective is Arcane Channeling. First activation of turn 4, the Hunter Squad fires their heavy bows into the Frog Mage, who is still standing right out in the open for them. The Frog Mage's magical armor does not hold, and his fat, bloated body pops on top of his magical hover round. The geckos at the center of the board charge into the last brute remaining in that squad. Using their javelins as tiny spears, they're able to stick and stab until the brute goes down. They were only able to do just enough wounds to take him down, so they are not able to complete Take No Prisoners. Final activation for the Tree Lords. They fire their heavy bows into the geckos in the middle of the board. They're able to take out 4 of them. Last activation for the Saurians. End the game. The Spinosaurus moves forward and hawks a poisonous loogie at the 2 hunters on objective number 1 and completely misses. So at the end of turn 4, the treemen have a choice again. They can either choose Volley Fire or Executioner because they killed a unit with a ranged attack, and that ranged attack was a hero. We'll just use Executioner just to kind of rub it in for 1 point. And while they were not able to take no prisoners, the geckos were able to cut them down by destroying 1 enemy unit for 1 point. As far as points for the Saurians, cut them down. Hold objective 2 and Big Game Hunter for a total of 5 points. The Tree Men, Executioner, seize objective 4, hold objective 4, and area dominance for 6. The Tree Men are going to be moving on to fight against the War Disciples. That's the end of our game today, and sometimes the Army of the Week just does not work out. But don't feel sorry for the Saurians. We have something special planned for them coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to record that this weekend to get it out to you guys here pretty soon. One of our members requested a Saurian versus Mummified Undead battle report, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I have Titans. Oh, Lord. So that'll do it for us out here in the garage today, everybody. Discord link is down below. The campaign is getting very close. I know I say that every week, but every week I'm doing more work to it. So jump on the Discord to participate. Well, then I'm going inside. It's getting cold out here. Remember, don't take it too seriously. It's just a game. And we'll see you next time.